Welcome to Radio Test and Review. Today is January 22nd, 2025. My name is Dave, and my call sign is N8DAV. That's November 8 Delta Alpha Victor. My name is in my call sign. Today, I will be testing the Signal Stuff Signal Stick dual band HT antenna and the Signal Stuff Signal Stick 1.25 meter single band antenna. These two HT antennas are sold by Signal Stuff, which supports their website, hamstudy.org. I have no affiliation with them. However, I did use their website to study for both my technician and my general license tests, and I highly recommend them. All products that I am testing today have been bought and paid for out of my own pocket. The antennas that I am testing today are available in many colors and start at a price of $22 for the black, and prices go up to $29 for all the other colors. The dual band antenna covers the 2 meter and 70 centimeter radio bands. This antenna measures 19 inches long. The single band antenna covers the 1.25 meter band, and this antenna measures 12 inches long. They are both made from a material called nitinol, which is an alloy of titanium and nickel. Signal Stuff Signal Stick is offered with BNC male connectors, SMA male connectors, and SMA female connectors. Signal Stuff also offers a series of adapters that can adapt any of these connectors to your particular radio. The tests I will perform today will be first to establish a ground plane acceptable to testing HT antennas. To do this, I will be using a Signal Stuff magnetic mount with a BNC female connector and 16 feet of RG58 coax. Each antenna will attach directly to the mag mount or with an adapter depending upon the connector for the specific antenna. While I understand it is not optimum to test one antenna with an adapter and one without, the adapter will skew the results only slightly, if at all. In this case, the differences are not measurable. I picked the Signal Stick to test for the first time so I can establish a baseline that can be used to compare other HT antennas against. First, I will test each antenna using a Surecom SW-102S SWR power meter. This meter is not calibrated and is useful for establishing an acceptable ground plane and general SWR readings for comparison purposes. Next, I will test each antenna using a NanoVNA antenna analyzer. This analyzer is calibrated and should establish a more accurate test result. I will test each antenna for each applicable radio band. I will report the entire range of SWR from one end of the band to the other, and what the SWR is at the center of the band. Hopefully, this will give you a good idea of what performance you might expect from each antenna at each band. The next set of tests will be to test the transmission field strength of each antenna using a field strength meter. This will give you an idea of the radiated power that each antenna is capable of providing. And the last test will be a subjective test doing real-world testing at a preset distance with a number of objects between the remote location and the base station using a simplex parrot repeater. Some antennas may or may not be able to make the round trip, and I will report this result. I will determine the quality of the transmission and reception and report that as well. My first set of tests will be tri-band HT antennas. I feel that most content creators these days will test tri-band antennas, but have been only testing them on the 2 meter and the 70 centimeter bands, leaving out the 1.25 meter band that they are also designed to work on. So I will be doing testing on all 3 bands, including the GMRS band, for a total of 4 bands. My next set of tests, after all the tri-band antennas have been tested, will be to test HT stubby antennas. Now this should be fun and eye-opening because I think you'll find that some of these stubby antennas will perform better than what you might think. So let's sit back and enjoy the tests, and we'll review the results at the end of this video. Here is my setup that I'm using. This is the Baofeng UV17 Pro GPS, my Surecom SW-102 meter, and here is the antenna setup. This is the signal stuff magnetic mount with the signal stuff 1.25 meter, 12-inch tall antenna. Okay, here we are testing our signal stuff, signal stick, 2 meters, 70 centimeter, dual band antenna on the signal stuff magnetic mount on a cookie sheet. And here we go with our SWR and power readings. We get an SWR of 1.28 with a power rating of 5.75. Our next test is to test the dual band signal stick antenna on the 70 centimeter calling frequency. So here we go with our calling frequency test of SWR and power. We now have an SWR of 1.01 and a power output of 3.89 watts. And last but not least, I know all of you are going to ask for this, so I am testing the signal stick, 2 meter, 70 centimeter dual band antenna on the signal stuff magnetic mount on a cookie sheet using the GMRS frequencies channel number 16. And we are getting a 1.00 SWR with a power output of 3.57. Last but not least, we are testing the signal stick, 1.25 meter single band antenna, and we are using it on the magnetic mount, this signal stuff magnetic mount on a cookie sheet. Here it goes. 1.00 with a 5.51 watt output. Now we are going to test the signal stick, dual band, 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna using the NanoVNA on the 2 meter band, 144 to 148 megahertz. And here we have our results. At the low end of the band, we are at 1.874. In the center of the band, we are at 1.634. And at the high end of the band, we are at 1.528. Now we are going to test the signal stick, dual band, 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna on the 70 centimeter band. And we are getting an interesting scan here. At the high end of the band, we are at an SWR of 1.062. At the center of the band, we are at 1.603. And at the top of the band, 2.102. And last but not least, we are going to test the dual band signal stick, 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna on the GMRS band. And we will start the sweep, and we get a nice straight flat curve. And we are at an SWR of 1.426 at the low end of the band. And in the center of the band, we are at 1.455. And at the high end of the band, we are at 1.491. Here we are testing the signal stick, 1.25 meter single band antenna using the signal stuff magnetic mount base on a cookie sheet. And we are getting an SWR at the high end of the frequency scan of 1.331. And in the center of the band, 1.350. And at the low end of the band, 1.477. Now we're going to perform a field strength test. We're going to do this on both antennas, both signal stick, one on the dual band 70 centimeter, 2 meter antenna, and one on the 1.25 meter band antenna. This is the field strength test for the 2-meter antenna on low power. Last but not least, we are testing the Signal Stuff Signal Stick single band 1.25 meter antenna on the 1.25 meter national calling frequency. Greetings. I'm out here at the park. This park is situated in such a way that I have man-made obstacles and hills, trees, power poles, power lines, a lot of different obstacles. Most antennas will have a hard time getting back to my base station through all those obstacles. It's about 3 to 4 mile range. I live where we live up in the mountains, so I don't have a line of sight or a flat area that I can do distance testing. So I've picked this spot because small rubber duck antennas will either just barely make it or not make it at all. Extended distance antennas will probably make it, but not very well. And good antennas, more than likely, like this Signal Stick, dual band, 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna, will probably make it, either with good or not good modulation. So I'm going to test it right now. This is a test. Test. This is only a test of the Signal Stick, dual band, 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna at the distance test. This is only a test, N8DAV. The test. This is only a test of the Signal Stick, dual band, 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna at the distance test. This is only a test, N8DAV. That was a very good modulation. I got a nice clear signal. Apparently it's getting through, and apparently my base station's getting back to the antenna and the Baofeng UV17 Pro GPS. This is a great test for antennas because, again, good antennas will get through with good modulation. Extended distance antennas, maybe not, and short rubber duck antennas probably won't. So this was a good test, and I'll record the results, and I'll provide a spreadsheet and a link in this video for you to look at all the results. And I will be back to test the 1.25 meter antenna doing the same exact test. Here I am. I'm back at the park. I've set my base station up for the 1.25 meter band. I know that I don't have a good SWR with that base station antenna on that particular band, but I do know that I can get out fairly well on it. I can hit a repeater probably about 25, 30 miles away with it. So I'm thinking maybe I can try it with this little Baofeng and a Signal Stick 1.25 meter single band antenna. Let's see if it'll get out right now. Test. This is only a test. This is a test of the Signal Stick single band 1.25 meter antenna. This is only a test, N8DAV. Well, it's pretty apparent that we're not going to get out there, but I wasn't expecting to. With an SWR of about 3.5, I don't think it's going to really work. So I can try some other areas and maybe see if we can get a good signal report. But I think for the most part, this is about as good as it's going to get. So anyway, this is Dave, N8DAV, signing off and saying so long. So what can we conclude from the testing of the Signal Stick HT antennas today? Well, as we found, a regular SWR reading using real-world radio, using the magnetic mount, Came up with some very interesting results. We got very good SWR readings on all three bands for the dual band antenna and good results on the single band antenna. What we also found was that the NanoVNA had higher SWR readings and also gave us some interesting curves, and you'll see that as you've seen actually in the results. The last thing that we saw was that the HT antennas also produced good signal strength, field signal strength, and so you'll be able to use those readings to compare other HT antennas as I add them to the spreadsheet that will be available in a link below. Anyway, after we've done all of this tests, I think you'll find that you'll be able to compare apples to apples, all the HT antennas together, and you'll be able to come up with a good idea on which antenna will be right for you. This is Radio Test and Review. My name is Dave, N8DAV, signing off and 73s.